You just press play on the Last Breath Huntcast, home of the Huntroversy. We're here to entertain, educate, and engage. And in case you didn't know, you only live once. But if you do it right, once is enough. Don't waste it.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I'm not sure when you're listening to us, but we sure appreciate you. This is the Last Breath Huntcast, episode 88, coming to you live from the meat locker, the bone shed, whatever you want to call it. It's an addition that Grant, me, my dad, and father-in-law put on to my house. And today we're going to we'll be honest with you. It was a busy week for both Grant and I. We didn't have one lined up, so we are pulling something out of the bag. We're going to talk about what we have in store for the spring. As far as turkey season goes, Last Breath Lives, new announcements, and some other things. It's going to be worth the listen because we're going to kind of break down the hunts that we have lined up for this spring, some of our timber stand improvement projects, food plot projects, and other things. But before that, Mr. Putnam, we should pay the bills.
Okay, so as we talked about 4 weeks ago, our podcast is now presented by Badlands Gear. You can check them out at badlandsgear.com. They have a bevy, an absolute killer amount of whitetail gear, whether it be a bino harness, whether it be pants, jacket, bibs, something during every type of the season to keep you warm, dry, out in the field. Very happy to be working with them, and we actually have a 30% off discount for everybody that listens to them, so that's a big thank you from them to all the listeners that take their time out of their day to listen to us talk and about our podcast and watch our video content and stuff like that. So huge shout out to Badlands Gear for supplying that. You can get the 30% off discount code in our inner circle, so that way if you want any gear for turkey season, they've got you covered from hats, gaiters, all the way down basically from head to toe. So check them out at badlandsgear.com.
The other partner of this podcast is Underwarmer. This is a single-use heated base layer. Really impressed with the product. We actually just got done shooting a couple videos for them, kind of briefly just describing what exactly it does and how it works. And, man, I'll tell you what, the people who I think are going to appreciate it the most are going to be the petite and female outdoors men and women. My wife and Allie both were super impressed when they wore it. Again, I think it's something we'll use, but if you're one of those female outdoor athletes that just, you're outdoorsmen are just like, I'm tired of freaking being cold. I can either be comfortable as far as a layering system wise to be able to shoot my bow, or I can dress like the Michelin Man. This is a great option. So Underwarmer, it's cheap, it works, the end. I don't need to say anymore.
All right, well, let's get into it then. So turkey season's coming up. When, where, and who will we be hunting with during turkey season? That's the first thing we got on the docket today.
Yeah, so, I mean, our turkey season every year for about 5 years has begun to evolve. And that's where we started taking use out hunting.
Yep.
And then we started taking some other friends out hunting that have never experienced a turkey hunt. And so this year is no different. We're going to start. We're trying to round up some use out there. So if you're a youth hunter, you've got some ground and you're not sure how to hunt, or you don't have the decoys, or you've never been able to call one in, shoot us a message if you're semi-local. We'll be happy to come and kind of be your guide, quote unquote. Hopefully you're not camera shy because we sure as shit are going to film it. But again, if you have ground or permission on ground that holds birds, and you're a youth hunter or your son or your daughter, you want to get them out there. There's limited supply of us, but we love taking kids out. We'll bring all the decoys. We'll do all the calling. We'll even let them use our gun if they need to. But anyway,
done that quite a few times, and most of the youth hunters that we took out over the course of the last 5 or 6 years, they're now not youths anymore.
No.
Air quote. So
it's been really cool, so
they'll be going out on their own.
Yeah, Jake Peterson, dude. That when we hunted with that kid, he's this big. He's still
he's grown
youth.
like a foot.
Oh, seriously, he's like 6'5" now. Kid is huge. And then Chase Olson is like he took to it like a pig to mud, man. He's killing birds on his own now, left and right. Parker Olson took him out, and dude's a freaking killer now. It's really cool when you're able to kind of introduce somebody to it and then watch them just take off and run with it. So we've done that. Moving into season, I've got a first season permit. You have a first season permit. I think as it stands, we're the only two on the team that have that first season tag, I believe.
Which last year we were hunting first season in a foot of snow.
I know.
So
that's what I was just going to say. First season is so weather permitting, and on top of the fact that it doesn't have a weekend here in Illinois. But like first season can be white hot, or if you have bad weather, it can be just terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be tough. And then second season, Jesse has a tag, Allie has a tag, Logan has a tag. I don't know about Matt and Jesse. I'm sure one of them has a tag.
I think Matt has a tag.
Third season's going to be loaded because you've got Henderson County. Jesse's got Henderson County. Allie has another permit.
Do you have a third tag?
No, I have a fourth.
You have a fourth.
So
when we go into fourth season, that's when your guests show up.
Yeah, so fourth season is going to be pretty special here. We've got Shane Jones and Robert Hawk coming from Colorado, great friends of ours.
We want to get it on the record now, too, that we're trading them a turkey hunt for a elk mule deer hunt combo.
Yeah.
So just to get that out there for all of you guys to be aware to hold them to that. One Eastern apiece turkey is a fair trade for a megalodon bull elk and mule deer. So just want to get that out there.
Really appreciate this swap, guys.
Yep.
It's going to be
It's
fun.
really solid for you to do this.
But no, in all seriousness, we're pretty excited. Shane's never killed a bird, and Robert's never killed an Eastern. So objective of ours is to have them kill their birds reaping them.
It's going to be fun.
I think it is 100% plausible. I do think that we'll have some success. So just, got to see if the birds want to play, right?
Yeah.
During that time period, though, you and Matt are going
to Kansas. So we're going to go hunt with Misty Morning. They said, we liked having you guys down in the past. Here's a free hunt. If you guys would like to shoot us an episode of content and come on down, we'll put you on some turkeys. All you have to do is give us some of that footage and cut it up for us. So we're happy to make that swap with them. So Matt and I are going to go down, and you can kill two Rios apiece. That's what we'll be hunting for on the combo tag. So the combo tag, Kansas does it a little bit differently. They have your general hunting license. So I learned this about 5-6 days ago when I applied and got my tag. So you got your hunting license, so you got to buy that. And then you have I think it's called a voucher tag, and that'll actually be your permit to hunt the animal. And then you've got what's called a carcass tag, is what they call it in Kansas, that you actually wrap around it when it's harvested, dead, what have you. So it's kind of interesting how DNRs are totally different from every state, and we've talked about that, but that's going on during fourth season. So while those guys are here with you, we'll be in Kansas hunting. And then fifth season,
Alan Yates will be coming down.
Alan Yates is coming down.
So Alan has shot a Jake, never shot a Tom. Excited to have him down. I think we can give him a pretty good hunt. We've got a couple farms that they really seem to turn the switch on come fifth season. It's weird how, just like deer, turkeys have patterns. I mean, we found that literally like different farms have different activity levels of toms, specifically toms, in
certain
seasons.
Times of year.
Yeah. So should be good. We're on top of all the other stuff that Jesse and Matt, Cody and Homie are going to be doing, and Logan and Allie. I mean, we should realistically be bringing more turkey content to the table than we ever have.
Yep.
Heaven permitting that we're allowed to kill some freaking birds.
Yep.
It should be lined up. And I think, so if you guys don't know what we run, we've got a couple different guns that we use. We do hunt turkeys with our bows, don't get us wrong, but man, just some things I like to gun hunt. I'm telling you right now, and turkeys is one of them. I really like gun hunting birds and turkeys. And not to say we've both killed turkeys with our bow. We'll probably do it again.
Yep.
But I love the flexibility of a gun. I love the maneuverability of a gun. I love the forgivingness of a shotgun when we hunt them. But so our turkey guns, we have a Winchester Longbeard XR.
Yep.
SX3. It's a pump. It's 3.5-inch chamber. We have got a micro red dot on top of it, and we use Winchester Longbeard XR 5 shots, 3.5-inch shell. That combo is awesome. Love that. I mean, it's a 50-yard gun, no doubt. It's killed now out to 60 yards with Chase last year. 61 yards. He shot a Tom. Crazy. and stoned it.
Yep.
But just that combination of those things really makes for a deadly weapon. And for a while we ran it with iron sights until we put the red dot on, and now I'm in love with having that red dot on there.
It just makes swinging the gun on a turkey so much easier. It's that eye relief is incredible, and you can just put the reticle right there.
Yep.
On his head, on its neck, on his wattle, and let her eat. And it's like last year when we were reaping the second one that we killed for me during 5th. Like, I don't think that with iron sights I would have been able to get on his head that fast.
Right.
So basically what happened, this turkey was, we were reaping a turkey. We saw one out in the middle of our field. Garrett sat up in the timber. I went right at it. And as I was looking, and I'm about to shut her down here. I'm not going any further. I'm on my knees. And
he's committed to you.
He's committed to me. I'm going to gain control of the weapon. So I pick it up with my right hand, and as I'm like moving out to the right side of Teddy, he's coming around back to the left. So he had seen me lean around, and he was boogieing off, and he was about 30 yards when I shot him, but I was able to just pull it right up to my shoulder immediately and just
touch it off.
And he, piled right there. But just having an optic that's that forgiving, especially when you have to move a little quicker on a turkey sometimes, especially when you're reaping them, just because once they see you, they're ready to get out of
Don't
dodge.
get me wrong. We love it when it happens perfect, but look, Logan had a similar situation, right? We're in the timber, and we had a tom just going crazy. Thought we had more time, and he gobbled again. I'm like, Logan, no time. She's like getting ready to put the decoy down. I'm like, throw the decoy. He's coming. We literally chucked the hen decoy, got set up. I'm on her left. She's on my right. And there's this big hedge tree right in front of us. Here the bird comes. We see him. Now he's 40 yards away, 30 yards away, and he's working to our left. And I'm like, okay, Logan, I'm going to get small. You're going to have to stand up and swing and shoot him. And she did. And she's like, there's no way I could have done that without the red dot, because she stood, swung the gun over top of me, got on the bird. At this time, he's already, starting to boogie away.
Yep.
Boom, smokes him. So I did buy a new shotgun this year for the girls. I bought a Gershon M123M. It's a semi-automatic, 3.5 inch.
Mean-looking gun too.
I haven't shot it yet, which is surprising, but it's just now finally getting nice to where we'll want to pattern a shotgun. But again, it's almost identical setup, other than it's an autoloader. It's got a pistol grip. It's Cerakoted, camoed out. Got a red dot on top of it. Shoots 3.5s. And that'll be the gun that the girls run this spring. So it feels good. It shoulders good. The trigger pull is pretty nice for a shotgun. Going to throw that super full choke in it.
I'm not looking forward to patterning that thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, the trick is that when you pattern it, when you sight it in, you use pheasant loads. You use your clay pigeon loads, and you shoot it at 15 yards to get your pattern where you want. And then you check it once or twice with the freaking Warhammers. Dude, nothing kicks harder than a 3.5 inch turkey shell. I'm telling you,
it's
man.
way worse than a deer slug, I think.
Oh, they're miserable.
Yeah.
If you're not shooting a bird, if you're not shooting a turkey, they suck.
Yeah. Every time.
Yeah, they jar you, man.
And going back to our turkey load, I think what's cool about the triple beard load that we shoot, it's
not a triple beard, long beard.
Long beard. It's got a mix of 3 different sizes of pellets in it.
Nope.
Correct?
Nope.
It's got larger BBs,
Nope.
smaller BBs.
Nope.
No, it's all the same.
All the same.
All of 5.
All 5s.
I thought was that Black Cloud that came out with ammunition that's got 3 different size pellets in it, one to get out there and touch him.
No, Black Cloud is a brand. Well, it's a shot of Federal.
For waterfowl, right?
Yeah, Federal owns or proprietizes Black Cloud. Black Cloud is like a BB that has a saucer around it. But Triple Beard is a blend that's made by Heavy Shot, I believe, that has
that's what I'm
4s,
thinking
5s, and 6s. But no, what we have, what we shoot is Longbeard XR, and it's straight 5-shot, and it's actually got resin packed around the BBs. So when you shoot it, you'll actually see that dust come out. And what that does is when you shoot, it holds the BBs tighter out of the barrel. So it's not very forgiving close range. Full disclosure.
Yeah, at 20 yards, it's
about a 6-inch group.
Yeah, it's like a softball.
But I mean, if you hit them,
they're dead.
But where it really is, its sweet spot is that 30 to 45 yards, because those resin packed BBs, it keeps that pattern really tight. And like I said, at 40 or 50 yards, you'll have 20, 30 BBs in the head and neck of a turkey.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're curious about this, again, so getting kind of back to why we're doing this, if you haven't checked out our Last Breath live series on YouTube, we show every single week what we're doing, and it's literally just what we're doing. There's nothing, no other scheme to it than, hey, we are showing you exactly what we're doing the prior week of. So I can guarantee you that multiple teams will be taking Last Breath lives of them shooting their shotguns, patterning their shotguns. Like when Allie and Logan go to sight in that Gershon, there'll be a video live tapped into that. So we use a Hunter Specialties 3D, not 3D, it's a 2D, but it's a splatter target for turkeys. Love that thing because it really just shows you exactly where the BBs are hitting and to tell how lethal, how effective that weapon is going to be with that load when you put that target out at 40 or 50 or 60 yards. And you can walk up and just bright as day, okay, I had 12 BBs in his head. Perfect. This is going to work.
And that load and gun combination is just very solid. I feel like why I wanted to back up and talk about it was that out to 50 yards, like we've killed multiple birds, 45 yards to 55 yards in that range. And it does a really good job. And every time we pull it up, I mean, it's a very, we've talked about it before. I think confidence kills X, Y, and Z in terms of game. And when you have a weapon that you're that confident in, I feel like that's just going to make you that much more lethal when you go out in the field. Actually, I sent Brandon my bow would have been about 2 weeks ago. I had one of my buddies, his name's Brandon Connor. He actually made Garrett and I some ice fishing poles.
He makes great ice rods. If you guys are interested in ice rods, dude, I'm
just
telling
look him
you.
up on Facebook. I don't think he's got a website rolling yet, but he makes these ice fishing.
BC Custom Rods.
Yep, BC Custom Rods. We know that the ice is melting, but next summer and into fall when he starts making his new rods for the winter, you might want to hit him up if you're interested in ice fishing because they're awesome. But I sent him my bow, and he, first day out on the range, he was grouping in a 4 or 5 inch group at 40 yards. He's like, dude, I've never felt this confident with the bow. Going back to my point, like I said, it's just confidence kills. And when I'm very confident in that load, like if I pull up to my shoulder on a turkey that's at 50 yards, I know that if I do what I'm supposed to do
it's gonna
execute, that turkey's dead. He's making his way into the frying pan. So what are some things people can do now? I'm talking right now. So today is March 6th.
Mm-hmm.
What are some things people can do right now to be more successful on turkeys? And then we'll get into what are some things people can do right now to be successful in the whitetail woods. But let's start with turkeys first.
I think the biggest mistake that a lot of people make is they break their calls out to way too late. So right now, we were just talking about it. Like, it's time to throw the diaphragms in the truck,
And it's a great spot to do it, too. You're not going to irritate your dog, your fiance, your kids if you have them. That is a very user-friendly spot. Like, on the way to work every day, I just chirp on my calls and make sure they're sounding good enough to kill a turkey and call one in. And I'll do that for a month and a half before season. So we're doing that like right now.
Yeah.
It's something we're going to break out. Also, not to cut you off, but the Illinois over-the-counter turkey sales, March 9th. So that is this Wednesday, I believe. Mm-hmm. If you are a person that applied for your, first, second, third, or first and third lottery, whatever combo, and you've got your 2 tags, you need to go get your third one over the counter. They go on sale on the morning of March 9th. So keep going.
Yeah. And surprisingly, going on that, I looked up the leftover permits. There's way less leftover permits this year. Example being, like a lot of our local listeners, if I looked at it right, and I'm pretty sure I did, there's only 2 permits left in Mercer County. The end. That's it. Like, that's pretty crazy. I mean, usually there's quite a few more. Mm-hmm. Anyway, 2 guys are really lucky. And then everybody else that's waiting in line are going to finally get up to get a tag. And you're like, never mind. I just wasted an hour. But, no, so getting back to it, I think one of the biggest things is break out your calls, dust them off, and start using them because there's a reason why, athletic programs start a month before their first game. And there's a reason why you sound way better come 5th season turkey calling than you did on opening morning of 1st. And that's because you've got a month of practice. We're lucky that when we do take youth hunters out, that's like our scrimmage game, and so
exhibition.
Yeah. And so that's one of my big things. The other big thing is like check your equipment. Again, turkey season for us is very seasonal. It is for most people, right? I mean, it's a much shorter season than most whitetail or fall hunting seasons. So if you got inflatable decoys, make sure they're still holding air. If you got older decoys, pull them out, and maybe you need to touch them up. Some guys don't realize this, but the coloration on a tom's head, a strutter's head, tells so much of the story of how that bird is, what they think, how they operate. And if you've got some scuffed up paint on that, it is worth the time to go and buy a $5 art kit with some paintbrush and touch it up. The whites, the reds, the blues, because turkeys are extremely visual. What may take you 20 minutes after work to touch up the head could be the difference of you killing a bird or not. And then we start talking about your turkey vest. If you guys use turkey vests, which we absolutely love ours, it's like, it is the essence of turkey hunting for me. It holds all my stuff. Go through it. You need to check batteries in your rangefinder, batteries in your red dot. If you got any of your flashlight headlamps, check the batteries in them. Make sure you got sandpaper in your vest for your diaphragm, or not your diaphragm, for your slate. Make sure you got chalk in your vest for your box call, and kind of just go through the gear list. So that way, when season comes, you know that you can grab your bag, you can grab your vest, you can grab your decoys, and they're A game ready to go. Because like most turkey seasons, you've got, like, our permits here in Illinois are anywhere from 5 to like 7 days long, 8 days long.
We can only hunt them in the morning.
And you can only hunt them in the morning. So it's like, you got such a short window.
It's pretty do or die for most Illinois turkey hunters that, can't take a weekday off or aren't going to take a weekday off. You got 4 weekends to get it done.
Yep.
And that's it.
Yeah. And then the last thing I was going to say is just shoot your gun. It took me a while to realize this. I've always been an advocate of shooting your bow. Shoot it a ton. Shoot all the time. Make muscle memory out of it.
Yep.
And as I've grown as an outdoorsman and as an operator, like a firearm operator, I've realized that you do need to work those muscles again. Pulling it up, getting the sight picture, feeling the trigger, working the safety. Like, all these things should be second nature. And if you are guys like us, we got a turkey gun. It serves one purpose: kill turkeys. Right? We just talked about how short the season is. It's like 5 weeks. You only got 3 tags, so really you can only hunt like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I need to make sure, and I know how this gun feels. I got to train my body and my mind and memory to remember, like, when I pull it up, it's like, boom, right on. And as I said earlier, don't be wasting your expensive turkey loads and blowing your shoulder off. Just go grab yourself like a box of Super X 7.5s and shoot those, because it's that muscle memory that we're developing. When you have your load in there, your turkey load, that's when it's going to be all the way out to 50 yards and it's going to have the big punch. But just for you killing paper, feeling that gun, maybe if it's a pump like ours, like working it, get follow-up shot and making sure it's instinctive to rack it, like, just burn a cheap box of shells. But those are my tips for turkeys. Anything you got?
Thinking about along the lines of a turkey vest, I just want to talk about how useful a turkey vest is. I mean, I didn't have a turkey vest the first year that we hunted turkeys. We got one there the second year, so we're about a dozen years into turkey hunting at this point. And if I could take back one thing that first season, it would be having a turkey vest. It is such a good organizational tool, just because every different piece of camo that you have has pockets just all over hell, and it doesn't seem like it's ever consistent. But with that, like, hey, my slate is on my upper right chest, my box is on my lower left flank. Like, where all your things are, and it becomes second nature, to the point where if you've got a turkey that's in that, what I would call the killable bubble, meaning they're approaching being killable, they're not in shooting distance yet, but you've got to make a move. Like, okay, there's a turkey out there at 120 yards. I've got to make a move for this call, because what I'm doing is not working right now. You know exactly where it is, and you're not fumbling around, in addition to just keeping your stuff organized.
Right.
And actually, Badlands launched a brand new turkey vest last year, and it is very cool. So if you want to check that out.
And they had 30% off.
Yeah, there you go. So if you're in the market for a new turkey vest, I can't overhype how important a turkey vest is to just how nice it is to keep your stuff organized. But in terms of my things that I think are really important for turkey season right now is lots of people with turkey season especially. Turkey season is very, very, very different from deer. Turkey and coyotes I kind of lump into one group, and that is that lots of people that turkey hunt may not necessarily deer hunt on that ground. So like for me, this week, I'm calling all the landowners that have given me permission in years past to turkey hunt to make sure, hey,
I still can.
Can I still is that okay with you still? Maybe go swing by their house. Maybe shoot them a text or a call. Just because when Illinois firearm tags go over the counter for sale and you're trying to look up and see if you can get another tag in county XYZ, that your landowner still is expecting you. Don't be that guy who's like, I got a 5th season tag, thought it'd be okay with you. And they're like, no, my nephew's hunting out here. And then all of a sudden you walk to the same spot as their family member or somebody else that they gave permission to, because landowners that do not hunt, this is not a derogatory stab at them, but hunters that hunt that's all they think about. Like, that's all I think about.
Right.
Virtually every day all year long is how are we going to kill this deer? How are we going to stack turkeys up? What's a hunt that you and I want to go on? What are things that we can do to prepare ourselves for that time in which we're doing those things and we want to kill? Well, one of those things to a landowner may not be like, it might not be important to them on their top list of 100 priorities that they've given you turkey permission. They may have forgotten about it, So I would make sure to nurture that relationship and make sure that whatever places you have lined up to go turkey hunting for, like us, we strongly believe that the more places you have to turkey hunt, the better, especially if you strike out off the roost. We've talked about, briefly how important it is in Illinois, at least for us. Like most Illinois guys, they're hunting for 3 weekends. That's it. That's a total of 6 half days. You know what I mean? That's it. Mm-hmm. That is not very much time. And if you strike out off the roost or have birds pitch down, go the other way, and they're not playing ball with you, then you should have another spot where maybe you can go strike up a midday gobbler or a gobbler right there around noon to make a play, or maybe a spot where you can reap one. So that'd be my biggest piece of advice for you, is get the permission lined up now, so that way you're not screwing another hunter by going in there blind thinking that it was okay that you still did, because turkey hunting and coyote hunting permission revolve
pretty regularly,
much more fluid than deer hunting permission is. So that's my big step of advice.
I was great. I didn't even think about that. I mean, something kind of we take for granted. We've harped on here before. We're private land hunters, man, and we love it. So hate us for it if you want to, but sorry. First off, there's not much public around here, and secondly, like we prefer to hunt private land. We like to know that when we go out there, we're the only ones there. We like to know that we can hang our stands in advance and we can do TSI work to the places we can, etc. Not going to go down that anymore, but that's a big thing. Like, just a phone call. That's
it's just a courtesy.
It's a yes. It's a respect thing. Like, hey, Mr. Miss X, just wanted to make sure you're okay that me and my son or me and my friend or me and my brother or whatever can come, me and my wife can come hunting again. 9 times out of 10, they're going to say thank you, and I guarantee they're going to appreciate it. But moving on, I think getting into kind of like the whitetail realm of things.
Deer preparation.
A lot of guys are shed hunting right now. It's perfect. It's gorgeous outside. It was got like 63 degrees today. I shot a little trap. My Logan went out and walked on one of our leases and
found a big shed.
A shed off of a deer we called Laffy Taffy, and it's like, wow. You just didn't realize how nice he was. And it's also surprising because he kind of disappeared second half of season.
Yeah, he did.
And then she found his shed. We're gonna go try to match this deer up because he's hefty, man. I mean, he's one of those deer that you knew he's big, you knew he's nice.
Probably underestimated him by a
15 inches.
15, yeah. He's probably all over 160 put together without any breaks or anything like that. So he's a really, really nice deer.
So what I was getting at is that while you're shed hunting, now is a great time. Take flagging tape your phone. There's tons of apps out there, whether it's Onyx or Hunt Stand or Base Map. I don't care what you use. But you can now finally push into those areas that you were so afraid to. Maybe if you got sanctuaries, or maybe you got these big bedding thickets that you left alone. Well, as you're going in there to shed hunt, drop pins, make notes. Like, remind yourself, wow, I didn't realize there was this, or I found a huge scrape. Okay, well, if it's a giant scrape like the size of this table here, it's probably a community scrape. Drop a pin. Probably going to be there next year. Throw a camera on it. Now you're getting some really good data. I also think that this is a great time if you didn't, after season was closed. Like, we take down most of our stands pretty quickly, but we still have a couple of them up. Now's a great time to pop them and pull them down. I'm a big advocate of this for 2 reasons. The first reason, first and foremost, is safety. Your straps, your bolts, your stands, the cables, you get a chance to look them over. And if you do leave them in the tree, you're just going to strain them and stretch them to the point where they will fail. Like, so by removing them, it makes you look over the stand.
Gives your straps a breather.
Yes, it gives your straps a breather. And then the other thing is we've talked about this before. Like, we'll have an area that we know is good. a funnel or a pinch or bench, whatever, just a spot on the farm that's like, this is great. But we'll bounce around from trees year to year and until we get it figured out perfect. Even then, we still take them down and hang them up every time. But it's amazing the difference in opportunities you can have just by moving 10 feet over to a different tree. Or maybe you didn't realize that by moving that much, your wind is carried down the creek a little bit further. Or you've got a little more cover because the tree that you're in now is a hickory instead of a hackberry that lost all its leaves earlier. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen when you bounce around trees and you force yourself to hang those sets again, those stands again. And it's made us better whitetail hunters.
Yeah, I want to go back to the point about flagging tape. So if you're like us and you're a person that's trying to manage private land in the highest level that you can on a low budget, one of the biggest things you could do is go borrow buddy's chainsaw, go, buy $5-10 worth of gas and some bar oil and go and do some TSI projects right now. So talking about that, going back to your flagging tape example, last year, you and I, we ringed about 400 hedge trees because we want that light to get down into a canopy. And from a biological standpoint, we want that flush of new growth to provide woody browse to the deer that are using our timber, in hopes that in addition to our food sources that we have, like the podcast that we did with Chase Burns, that there's going to be food more readily available that is not monocrop corn, monocrop beans, monocrop turnips, rye, etc., that we have in our food plots. And that's going to really benefit. But going back to your flagging tape, right now you're going to be able to see a highly pronounced deer trail. And for us, we feathered the edges of our food plots, meaning we're trying to funnel deer into two or three.
Manipulating them.
We're manipulating deer movement to say, this is a log jam of trees here that we've cut down and hinge cut. You cannot walk through this. You must walk through this hole, and this hole. And on those holes, that's where our stand locations are. That's where our blind locations are. So if you've got a piece of flagging tape, you can make a mental note and say, hey, I see deer broke through the funnel right
the barrier,
here,
right?
Broke through the barrier, broke through the feather right here. We're going to need to clog that hole immediately.
Drop another tree.
For next season. So that's going to be one project that you and I specifically are working on, is flagging those holes out, making sure that that they're all clogged. So that way next year on that particular farm and piece of ground, we're going to force a deer right by us.
Even though 90% of the deer went through the places we left open.
Yep.
Just what you're saying. There's a couple spots where you can see deer tracks, and we don't want them there.
Nope. We want to take all the guesswork out of it.
Yep.
Control every single thing that we can control.
And so going on to that, when you're talking about like, okay, what can we do now? Now's a great time to do timber work. Mm-hmm. Whether you're doing a timber burn, we've got tons of moisture in the ground. You're not going to worry about the fire jumping. You're going to have a low spreading, high heat fire, which is what you want to kill any of the invasive species, all the unwanted species as you're burning through that leaf matter. We can't burn on one of our properties due to proximity of an airport. So we can't. It's illegal. Mm-hmm. But I think that's a great technique that if you guys are going to use it, now is a perfect time to think about it. But going back to your flagging tape and chainsaws, if you own ground or if you lease ground, if you have a conversation with your landowner and say, hey, you've got this amount of acreage, this much is in timber, it's very valuable real estate. Like there's some pretty bad trees that you can have in your stand. As we talked like with Chase, if it's a mulberry, if it's a hackberry, elm, around this area, maples, like those trees really should be getting a death sentence. So whether you ring them or whether you cut them down, that's going to actually be a lot more beneficial to have what comes up than what's left there. And so what I would say, just as a very easy thing for somebody that's new to this and wants to add some tonnage that's going to better their timber, if you have a mulberry tree, and most times than not, they're on the edge, they're actually really palatable to deer. So if you look at a mulberry tree, I guarantee this time of the year, you can tell they're very pale barked, they're smooth barked, they're more shrubby, they don't get real big, but you will see the low-hanging branches are nipped clean. I almost guarantee it, especially with the harshness of winter that we had. Well, the reason why the tops aren't is because they can't get to them. We'll turn that tree into a bush, hinge cut that thing, and automatically you're going to put all that food on the ground. Mulberry has no value whatsoever for harvest, and you're going to allow sunlight to come in around it and just create a big dense mat of greenery right there. Mm-hmm. So that's a really easy trick that you can do if you've got a small piece or a big piece. Any mulberry tree you have, turn that thing into a bush. hinge that son of a gun, drop it down. You'll have all those berries in the summer and spring. You'll have all those green tops for deer to munch on. And then again, in the late winter, all those terminal buds, they'll be able to nip them. Now, eventually that tree will die. It will die because it's going to get browsed so freaking heavy. But for 2, 3, maybe 4 years, you're going to have a lot more food out of that tree for your wildlife than you did if it was standing straight up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like what you said about bringing it down to the bottom. I think of trees, a mature tree that is, a tree that's 20 plus years old, air quotes mature. I know that there are oak trees that are hundreds of years old, so don't take what I'm about to say to the nth degree. But if you look at a tree as a food plot, just simple math here, and say that every 12 trees that you have up in the canopy equals 1 acre of food, just think about what 12 hinge cut trees, if you bring that foliage down to the floor, just think of what that'll produce for you. Because if you're a guy that's hunting 40 acres of timber and your landowner isn't going to permit you to bulldoze out a bunch of stuff and plant a big destination food source like everybody wants to plant, but they're okay with like, hey, do you mind if I hinge cut several of these trees?
Undesirable trees, low value trees.
They're not really harvestable, and if they are, they're pennies on the dollar. So is it possible for me to go in there and do that? Then you're creating an essential food plot, whether or not you would like to call it that or not, on the floor.
Yep.
It's
a bedding area, and then all the sunlight that comes in too.
Yep.
Like what you're saying,
new flush of growth.
It's incredible how much tonnage of food you can put down on the floor with a saw. So, yeah,
that's another good one for whitetails. Another tip, another thing that you and I are doing right now is you better start thinking about what kind of seeds that you're going to be planting this summer. So right now we're having the conversation between Garrett and I, like, okay, what are we going to replace this with? Obvious things like corn and soybeans are things that need to be rotated. You're going to want to get the seed lined up for that. So that way, come a couple months from now when we're starting to plant, if you've got 120 or 140 day soybeans, you're going to want to get them in the ground in the early summer versus like June, July. They may not do that well. So you're going to want to be having all those things lined up and prompt. And if you're like us as well, you're going to want to start to kind of see into the future and line all those things up. For us, planting food plots is a big ordeal. We have to rely on, all right, we got to borrow this from person X. We got to make sure that the trailer's ready to take it up here. And on this day, we're going to do this. We're going to get the fertilizer on this day. So we got to have our buggy lined up. So start doing those managerial things right now. That way, when you're manipulating, the pieces of your land, that you have all of those things lined up. Start thinking about it right now. Start thinking about, all right, this blind was on its last leg last hunting season. Like this thing's falling over, or the floor of this thing's rotting out. Now would be a good time to start thinking about, okay, I'm going to make a materials list now. I'm going to make a new permanent blind next year. I want to stand location in this tree, this tree, this tree. What are these resources that I need to do? Maybe I need to pick up an extra side job financially to make all this financially work. That's what I do. I say, all right, here's Garrett and I's goals. I need to make some extra money. I'm going to go drywall a house this weekend or something like that. And try to line all those things up so that way the bullshit is all done and you're ready to execute your plan. So start getting those things lined up, because I know that today is March, but frickin' 6 months from now, we're going to be hunting.
That's crazy.
So,
well, I think the other thing that you're leaving out is the time of the year. It's March, but it's comfortable time to work. Man, if you wait until like June, July, August to do something, it's just miserable. Like running a saw right now when it's 40s to 60 is
perfect.
That's perfect. And it's funny, like what you were talking about. We literally have like an agronomy plan for our farms.
Yep.
You were talking, now is a great time to frost seed. If you need to overseed some of your clover plots, fill in the holes, or just thicken it up a little bit, you can frost seed. Like we're thinking about doing that to one of our clover stands. And then, okay, how much fertilizer do we need to order? Because we're doing turnips on turnips this year. We noticed that it was kind of weak in this area. There's so much thought that goes into doing things right. And if you're new to food plotting, going through these steps is very crucial. A lot of guys have low success with like semination or germination or just food plot stand, success. And it's because they went around, they cut a corner on one or the other. If you're starting off a new food plot, you got to smoke it. and you got to kill it twice. You got to till it, and kill it again. I mean, you got to work the ground. You've got to get fertilizer on there. That first year food plot is the hardest thing to establish.
And you have to have realistic expectations about where you're planting it too. If you've got a 40 or 50 acre chunk of all timber and you think you're going to go into a place that's very low lit and that's only picking up sun for 2 or 3 hours a day, you have to have expectations that if you go out there and scrub up the dirt with the rake with some throw and grow, that it's probably not going to do very well. So instead of doing that, maybe see if you're a leaseholder or
the farmer lets you plant a waterway
a waterway. That's a really good low investment, low budget thing for you to do as a whitetail hunter to maximize space that the farmer is not using. Like you said, I mean, if you've got an 80 acre field and you've got 2 acres of waterway, well, boom, there's a half acre clover plot right there.
Right. It's overlooked, and usually sometimes
overlooked.
Farmers even bail their waterways. Well, heck, that's even better for them, man. Go ahead and bail it.
Go ahead and cut my clover for me.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that's another good one. So, yeah, food plots, get those things lined up. In terms of whitetail gear, we're coming into the time where, you guys are going to be wanting to start flinging arrows pretty religiously, getting back ready for the season. I usually start just about, middle of April. Whenever our bows come in, I'll start shooting my bow 5 to 7 times a week. And just making sure you're really dialed. If you want to make any equipment adjustments, like I said, you and I, maybe it's a curse, maybe it's the disease that we have of being type A and really organized, but I like to get all that stuff done now. I don't want to be that guy that's waiting until September to be like, oh, I think I need some new arrows this year. Like getting the new arrows in 4 weeks before season starts. So all that stuff that you can think of, like all your goals that you're visualizing and thinking about, start doing them now. There's no reason that you can't do them now.
Well, the last thing that I want to touch on with whitetail, and specifically revolves around gear, is that, man, if you're like us, hunting is your most expensive hobby. I mean, there's a lot of expensive stuff that goes around. You got deer stands, bows, guns, scopes, rangefinders, decoys, etc. So this fall, there's probably something that you wish you had. Maybe you're like, God dang it, I wish I would have had this scope for my shotgun or muzzleloader. Or, I wish I would have had a Dave Smith decoy, or, I wish I would have had a better ground blind. Well, you're still going to wish you had that come this fall. And, again, blue-collar Americans, right? So now you have an opportunity to save money incrementally for that. Like, what you want. What you want to upgrade to. Well, it's simple budgeting plan. Set $50 a paycheck aside or whatever.
That's it right there.
And then that way, come September, come October, you can buy that new rangefinder. You can buy the new gun. You can buy the new bow or whatever you want. Like, that's one thing that I think, we're going to buy a new Dave Smith decoy. We knew we were come November, right? So we've been planning for this and putting money away for it. And it's like, well, we're going to pull the trigger now because we want to make sure it's here plenty of time. So that's my last little thing about whitetail prep, is that if you think about it, was there something you really missed that you're going to want again this fall? Well, just put a little bit of that paycheck aside, and that way it doesn't hurt so bad when you go to buy it.
Yeah, when you're looking down, especially a piece of gear that you're like, this is season altering for me. Like 2 years ago, Garrett and I had that epiphany. All of our gear is very, very deadly, but our shotgun's a absolute tack driver. But we're like, all right, this 3x9 scope that we have on here, I want to be more comfortable shooting out to 200, because on the day that deer walks by, if he walks by at between 200 and 250, I want to pull up on him, feel solid, and drop him.
Have a good side picture. We didn't have enough magnification. So when you step into that scope that's, that 14 plus power, like 14, 20 power, that price tag is going to go up a lot.
And so, we shelled out about $800 for a new Leupold scope. But I will tell you, the difference between that is that you and I, we can put about 3 or 4 shots in about a 20-second time frame at a 6-inch gong at 200, just clapping steel very easily, much easier than we could. So all those goals that you're like, man, that piece of gear screwed my season last year. Like, we've got a really good mutual friend that, had a shotgun that he's looking to change into so that he can make a further shot, because if had he been able to make a further shot this year, it would have been the difference between him not killing a buck and putting a really nice buck on his wall. So things like that your goals that have those larger price tags on, just pick up some side work, start doing it now, like you said. But don't drink 60 beers a weekend every weekend. Just save some money.
You can do that.
You can do that, but
I don't know. So anyway, again, this podcast, hopefully it makes you think a little bit. We're super excited for spring. This warm weather's got us itching. There's a ton of stuff that comes up, and I mean,
on the turkey hunting coin, I have a couple more questions for you. Number one, if you had to narrow down a call that you want to perfect this year, that you're like, I want to get better at this call specifically, what call do you want to get better at?
Gobbling with a box call.
Gobbling with a box call.
I've got a rubber band. I use a broccoli band. It's like it works really well, but I think it's just a little off, and I got to figure that out. That's my thing. I can do the diaphragm really well, per cut, yelp, kiki. I can do that really well. It's my go-to, but I got to get that gobble figured out with the box call.
Sure. What's your number one goal for turkey season? We've talked about it before, and
number one goal,
yeah,
is have Allie kill her first tom, have Shane kill his first tom, have Alan kill his first tom.
Number two goal,
reap every turkey I kill.
So try to reap 3 turkeys. That'd be a crazy. Well, last year you got 2.
Mm-hmm. First season I didn't kill because there was so much snow.
Man, we really messed up first season last year. Not really messed up. What happened is on opening morning first season last year, Garrett and I, we sat down. We were like, all right, we're here for the long haul. This is where they've been coming every day. And we were morons and broke from that. So about 4.5 hours we sat there and, we were quiet. There was gobbles right in the morning off the roost, and then they pitched down and didn't say anything for about 4 hours. And then about 10:30, we're like, man, let's get up and see if we can strike one up. We're 2 hours from legal time ending, because we end at about 1 o'clock. So we get up to strike one off, and sure as shit, we're trying to kill one with our bow that day. Sure, right as rain, when we're coming back, we didn't strike one up down the trail that we're going.
To pick up our decoys.
Yep, going back to pick up our decoys to relocate, and there is a tom in our spread about 10 yards away from exactly where we wanted to be to kill him with the bow. So
he was like 20 yards away from where we would have been sitting.
So
didn't say a word.
That was rough.
Not a peep. Like we come around the corner and it's like,
that was a nice ass kicking on
are
day
you
one.
kidding me?
Yep.
Who knows how long that guy was fucking around with our decoys too?
I don't know.
But
probably a while.
Oh yeah.
But any other goals for turkey season?
No, I mean, I just want the team to have a lot of success. Cody and Homie have had some hard times turkey hunting. I think they're going to catch some stride and get some relief. I'm excited to see what you guys do with Kansas.
Yep.
But I just, I want to get those first out of the way. That's my biggest goal. Allie, Shane, Alan, and then I just want the team to put them down. I don't think we've ever killed 20 turkeys on video in a spring. I think we have an opportunity for it this year.
What's our most? 18?
18.
18 a couple years ago?
Yep.
That's a lot of turkeys.
That's a lot
pretty
of birds.
Good, but I bet 20 is pretty doable.
I think it is. I was counting up in my head with your out-of-state hunt, which could add supplementally 4.
Could.
And then everyone else coming in and that's not us all swinging 100% either. That's far from it.
If all 8 of us kill 2 in our home state, 2 out of 3.
Yep.
That's 16 plus the 4 in Kansas. That's potential of 20. And then we got Shane, Robert,
3 other ones.
Alan for a total of 23.
Mm-hmm.
That's not including, somebody three-peating in
or
Illinois. Or youth. So,
right.
Yeah, that's a pretty doable goal if we got our nuts screwed on right and they're in the right place at the right time. So
we'll see.
Fingers crossed for that one.
Three goal rule, man.
Yeah.
One that we can hit, an optimistic, and
a stretch goal.
Stretch.
Yeah. All right, well, that kind of rounds us out on this one. So we really appreciate you listening to this one. And
the only other thing I want to add
go ahead.
is that we have an educational series coming up, similar to a coyote series. We're lining up some turkey experts. So if you're a listener and you're like, dude, this buddy of mine, this person I know is the best turkey hunter I know, we're going to have a questionnaire in the Last Breath Inner Circle, just like we did with coyotes.
And that's our Facebook group.
So we're lining guys up now. We're thinking about a 4 to 5 part series, 4 or 5 guys that we're going to question and ask. So if you know somebody, shoot us a DM or wait for that post to come on the Inner Circle and let us know, because we're going to get that lined up so it can drop in April.
Yep.
So, but
we had a lot of big success with that with the coyote series. There was lots of I gained a lot of knowledge from that. Listening to all 3 of those guys. I know that you did as well. Lots of people really enjoyed that coyote series. Just having a podcast in the tank every day, somebody new, a new fresh take on coyote hunting. So I'm sure that with our spring turkey season, you and I will have one episode out of 5 or 6, and we'll talk exclusively how we reap birds because we're getting pretty good at it. Have some good success over the last few years, but then, some big names in turkey calling like Chris Parrish. Let's see if he wants to come on. Possibly Michael Waddell, very renowned turkey hunter. So any one of those guys, if you want to drop us a comment in the inner circle saying, I want to hear this guy, or this guy is my local buddy. He's not necessarily in the spotlight, but this guy murders turkeys every single year in our home state. Just let us know who that is in the Last Breath Inner Circle. A couple more announcements before we let you go here. Every single Monday morning at 6 a.m., you guys can listen to a new episode of the Last Breath Huntcast. That's the podcast that you are currently listening to. Every single Wednesday at 11 o'clock a.m., you can listen to the Whitetail Legacy podcast. Everything from the Legends of the Woods series to all the strategies, and they have got a studly fall lineup coming for whitetail strategies that is going to be incredible. And I can't say enough good things about those guys. Thursday, we've got an episode of Shed Kings dropping on Thursday. That is Jesse's a really big single side that he and I found 2 years ago. And then the following week, big news here. We're dropping 2 episodes of Shed Kings that following week. So we will tell you next Monday when those dates are going to be specifically, but we're dropping 2 episodes of Shed Kings that following week. So this Thursday at 7 o'clock, we got Jesse's coming down the pipeline. And then the following week, we're dropping 2 episodes of Shed Kings. We got Cody Jenkins. We're talking about Freeze's sheds, the deer.
Giant.
Double match set off of his biggest deer ever, his 190 plus deer he killed called Mr. Freeze. And then we got Austin Meyer coming on to talk about a match set that he just found a couple weekends ago that goes about right at 180. And Austin's found just about as many sheds as Matt has over his lifetime. I went down there to shoot the episode of Shed Kings with him the other day, and his couch was covered, his end table was covered, and then all of these big matches were just plopped out everywhere, and it's crazy how many sheds that guy has. So getting into our discount codes, the Inner Circle, the Last Breath Inner Circle, that's our Facebook group. That's where all those codes are living. We have got a banging code coming for you guys to buy a cell cam in the future. So we've got a way for you guys to save a lot of money on a cellular trail camera coming down this year. Like I said, our 30% code off for Badlands is in there. And Garrett and I have had the conversation like, all right, where the hell are we going to put those at? We come up with an idea that if we change the cover photo for the group right at the top, we're just going to put the codes right in there. So if you open up our group, you go right to the top, that's where they'll be.
Yep.
So
always there.
Good spot
easy
for
to
them
find.
to be. Yep. So we'll have ones for Outdoor Edge and for Moultrie, for Badlands, etc. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you again for listening to the Last Breath Huntcast. Do you have anything else?
We'll see you next time.
All right, everybody. Don't waste it.